In this short video, I'd like to talk to you about how you can use the 4 ChemoCorp videos on this website to help your observers prepare for the assessment centre they're going to be attending. It's very likely you'll do some observer training at the assessment centre before you start. But what about in anticipation of the assessment centre? Clearly there'll be some reading you can get people to do, but what I'm going to suggest here is something active that each person could be encouraged to do in anticipation of the centre, perhaps in pairs. They can do this individually, but I would encourage observers to talk about this between themselves in advance of the assessment centre. So choose one of the ChemoCorp videos that you'd like your observers to observe. Instruct them to take a blank sheet of paper, and on the blank sheet of paper to observe the manager, who just happens to be me playing a role, and to observe that manager and to record what it is they see and what it is they hear. To try as far as possible to record a verbatim transcript of what they see the person saying and the way they say it. And in so doing, they'll learn the frustrations, they'll learn the difficulties in doing just that, capturing what's going on before their very eyes. Who knows, in the assessment centre, they might be having to do that on 2 people. So practicing this beforehand begins to awaken in them the challenge that lies ahead. But also encourage them afterwards to look down at what they've written, to stop the video after a few minutes, to look at what's written. If possible, to show somebody else who's been watching the video what's been written, so that they compare and contrast the different ways in which they're going about it. And often what they've written is more a reflection of themselves than ever it is the person that they're writing about. But look at the language, look at the adjectives that are being used, look at the fuzzy language that's being used. Get them to think about the language. Get them to think about what it is they're capturing on the page and whether it's open to misinterpretation later. Okay, so encouraging them to stop the video at certain points and to review in their own minds or with others about what they're doing and how it's feeling in particular. They complete the observation, and the next phase is to try and make sense of it in some way in relation to the job. So I would encourage you to get them to do a PMI analysis, to pick out some of the plus points from the evidence they've collected, some of the minus points, the barriers to progress, the barriers to integration within your world of work, and also interesting points that they've got there, which are neither plus or minus, but might be telling in the course of time. So get them to do that, and only then, when they've done that PMI analysis, to award some sort of score. Yes, to reduce that performance down to a number against whatever criterion you decide is appropriate. Now, I offer you on this very page, if you look below the video, you'll see there's a downloadable, a PDF that you could use, which has got a behaviourally anchored rating scale that could be used in order to award a rating to the performance. So if everybody's using the same rating scale with the same behavioural anchors, and everybody understands what it is they're rating, although it is the case that most observers are only observing one thing, and that is, how is the person going to fit in around here? And that competency frameworks, time and time again, seem to be fraught with difficulty, that observers themselves have a great deal of difficulty in being able to differentiate between one competency and the other. So it's probably just as well for you to ask them to focus on this exercise, on the person's performance overall in this exercise, by looking at their own notes, pulling together a PMI analysis, and then awarding a score will be the most powerful way And then they can compare. Your observers can compare and contrast their scores so that you can see the diversity of view within the room, but also the extent to which we have some people who are rather more lenient, rather more generous in the way in which they make sense of people, and other people who are far more stringent. And you might get other people who tend to stick to the middle of the rating scale, who dare not venture towards the extremes. And again, such dialogue before the assessment centre, comparing and contrasting one's approach towards scoring, if you can do that well in advance, then again, it'll be time well spent. So I warmly recommend to you using the 4 videos on this website in your observer training. Well, I look forward to perhaps meeting you, talking to you in due course about how we could work together, how we might work together using psychometric analysis, exploring the exercises that might work best for you, and also looking at how you're conducting your observer training. Well, thanks for listening.